I have my little rig rigged up here. I made this out of coat hanger wire a long time ago. Put 2 hooks on it here. I put a little brace across there so it doesn't squeeze in tight on my... When you put these strings on here, it likes to pull together. I have pads of leather right here, so as it comes up over the guitar, it's not making any marks in the end of the guitar. I have it hooked around the tail pin. And what I have is a very small, thin piece of bone right here that is just sitting on there. It's just sitting there. It's not down in a crack or anything. And then I can tune up a string, and I'm not tuning it all the way to pitch. As a matter of fact, I have this tuned to a B flat right at the moment. I'll bring it up to a B. There's a B. Now when I noted at the 12th fret, it's just about 10 cents flat, which means that this saddle is too far back. Now it's not very far back, it's just a little bit. So I'm just moving it forward, a 1/16 of an inch at the most. Checking my intonation, or checking my note, open. There's a perfect B. And it's right dead on the money. Now let's go to go to this one here. I just got it tuned up to a D note. Doesn't really matter what note you pick. Just want to get it up to a decent pitch. And that's also flat. So now what I want to do is hold this one where it's at and move this one forward. Well, it still shows flat from here to here, so that means this is still too far back. So it's got to be moved forward yet. So I'm going to do it again. Now the bridge is almost straight, and that looks odd. This doesn't lie. I've done it hundreds of times. Now it's right on the money. Double check this side. If anything, that side's just a teensy bit flat, which will help the angle slightly. Check it again. Perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Let me check this side now. Perfect. Here's where the new saddle lines up. Now it's almost perfectly straight across. If you can see here, if I overlay this, you can see how the slot does not match how the other one lays in there. So the intonation could not have been correct. It would have been close, but it wouldn't have been correct. And I'm basically marking it right under the string. Okay, here's my makeshift rig for routing that slot. This piece here is affixed to this board, this little strip here. Now this is my guide. This is the shelf that the router will sit on to keep the depth at the right depth. I have it taped on here. I've carefully aligned this just by eye with the fine router bit that's in here. They're a very tiny bit. So I can take and slide this along this fence right here, and it will cut that exact slot. Okay, pass number 1. Looks very good. Couldn't hardly get it any better than that, I don't think. Now I just got to go deeper. Okay, I've got her set deeper. I don't do this scientifically. I just do it by feel and by eye. So here we go. Yeah, that's looking pretty good there. I think that's deep enough. And now we will take this very thin strip of wood, and we will just tape it onto this other piece of wood. Just enough to hold it there. It doesn't really serve any purpose except that it just moves my router bit over just a little bit. That looks better. That's just about as perfect as you could do it. That's what the finished slot looks like. And I also make the slot slightly longer than the original, and the reason for that is that it spreads the sound out across the top a little bit better. Ready to make the saddle. And yes, that is a piece of deer antler, and that's what we make them from. And this really works great for guitar saddles. It's one of the best materials you'll ever find. Is it way better than bone or anything like that? No, I'm not going to say that. If you've got a bone saddle on your guitar, more than likely you're just not going to notice much difference if you put the antler saddle on there. But I guarantee you the antler saddle sounds every bit as good as the bone, if not better. And I like it. It's just a great material. It's just the right hardness. It's a little harder than regular bone, but it's not nearly as hard as that fossilized stuff, which to me was just a big gimmick. What I do now is I look along it and see where the longest flat place is, and it looks like it's along this edge here. So what I'm going to do is lay this edge on the sander, on the belt sander, and make a flat spot. Okay, this doesn't have to be square flat all the way across. I just want the ends good and flat so that when I lay it on the bandsaw, I can slice through with the fence. So I want this face square to this face. I can slice off a chunk here big enough to make the saddle out of. Okay, we have a very nice slab of antler of good solid piece. And it's irregular shaped, of course, but that's okay. It's not too hard to shape it from here because now that it's down to a workable size. So what I'll do is I'll try to get a good long flat edge here first. That'll be the first thing I'll do. Okay, we've got a good flat surface and we've got a good square edge now, and we can lay that over the guitar slot now and just rough out the length. We'll leave it long. I'm going to come in here and just make a rough mark here about to length, and that's more than plenty long enough, so I'm going to just cut it off square there. It just becomes easier to work with when you start to get it squared up. Okay, I've set up the fence on the bandsaw, and I've got the blade set where it's going to cut a little bit wider profile than even what I have penciled on here. It's always easy to make it smaller. It's very difficult to add material. We've got the blank squared up. Right now it is about 170 thousandths thick. I need to take it down to approximately 100 thousandths. The slot I've rough measured at about 95 thousandths. So we're going to use our thickness sander and slide this through, and we'll be able to take it right down. do is turn it right back around and do it again when I'm down to the very final. That also usually ensures that the thickness is exactly right. Yep, that's right at 98 thousandths now. And that's still probably 3 thousandths too big. When I measured the slot, it measured at about 95. So we're at 98, so we still got a little bit more to go. I'm pretty sure I can make that work. I'm going to call it good for now. We might have to take off another thousandths. It definitely goes in there, but it's pretty tight. Got a rounded profile on the end of it now. On the end. It should match the slot pretty good. Matches it like a glove. Now I'm going to draw, give myself a 1/64 of an inch long. And I'll even leave it a little longer as I saw it off. Okay, got it in the slot. It's still quite tall, but like I said, you can always go lower. I'm just putting my finger underneath there and pressing as hard as I can to make sure it's all the way down in the slot. I'm going to draw a fine pencil line across the front of it to see if it's in at an even depth. And perhaps you can see the very light pencil line there, and it is in at a consistent depth. It's in over 1/8 of an inch deep. I would say it's 3/16 of an inch deep. There's no space around it whatsoever. That rough shape will get us started. Now the only way we can work with it from there is to actually string up the guitar, and we'll put a couple strings on there just to see how high we are. I'm sure we're going to be plenty high, so I'm sure we're going to be taking more off of this. Okay, I have the saddle, the tall saddle, and I know it's plenty tall in the bridge right now. I'm just going to mock up a couple of strings, the 2 outside strings, and just get a visual on how tall it is compared to the fretboard. Sometimes you get fooled a little bit, but I'm pretty sure this one's going to be way high. I have the 2 E strings mounted on the guitar, and if you can look across there, you can see the action is pretty high. It's not crazy high, but it's high. So we're going to, just based on that and experience, I'm going to take off some of that saddle. Okay, I'm going to call that good enough for right now until we string her up. There is a possibility I'll have to loosen several of the strings, slide the saddle back out, and work on it some more. But based on my experience, I'm pretty sure that's going to be fine. There's the E, and you can see the needles jumping up to the middle. And if I note the E, jumping right to the middle. So it's doing really well. I think we're in good shape. The action feels just perfect to me. We'll let the customer decide on that when he gets here. I want to give you a before and after of the fretboard. I've already just started leveling just slightly in this area here. I've leveled most of this area. This area was really bad. There was one hugely deep groove here. I've got most of it out, as you can see. This here, most of this will come out. It won't all come out. This will mostly come out, and the rest of it should be okay. Okay, there's a picture of the after, the first 3 frets. As you can see, that one's almost gone, this one's almost gone, and that one's almost gone. Those were the 3 deepest places. They were very deep. Most of the rest of them are pretty much gone. Well, that's just about the completion of this video. I hope that you enjoyed this. Jimmy Brown, the Newsboy. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends.